Thank you. Continuing, so those who became collaborators, those chiefs and those Africans that who found themselves involved in this Machiavellic enterprise, were in the minority and can in no way represent the overwhelming majority of not only the leadership, not only the chiefs, the kings and the queen, but the people themselves, ourselves as a people. We fought against that enterprise. Yes, we had some bad apples amongst us. We have them today. They were there then, and they are here now, as we speak. But we cannot use that small group of minority to paint a dark brush on all of them. As if it was some kind of pleasure that was coming out of this tragic experience. So we need to establish that. So when communication is being addressed to masses, like in the case of the preacher in the church, we have to be careful. Because unless you start really digging, researching, and trying to pin down what actually happened, we are risking the possibility of repeating what has been repeated over and over and over by the same people who engineered this system, set up this system for their own exploitative agendas, to relieve themselves from the burden of culpability and responsibility that they actually held in this enterprise. Blaming the victim. That's why we need to do research ourselves. We have to get involved in trying to look at these issues more closely than just to become sounding boards of the propaganda that kept us apart for a very long time. So it's not about denying that some of us, and I can again repeat, a small minority that got involved in the selfish motives and agendas, to become part of this experience. And in a lot of cases, they were themselves put against the wall, because you were dealing with a true enemy who was controlling them and forcing them and putting a gun in the head in a lot of cases to do what they were asking them to do. Yes, some of them took the joy to benefit from that vanity thinking that, it was something that they had to do for their own personal gain. But on the other side, many were placed under certain conditions, confronted by the reality of even losing their life if they were not to follow the instruction given to them. So we have to get at the bottom of this. And even when we explore all these possibilities, the overwhelming majority of Africans, whether they're talking about the people, the leadership, the way we live our lives, the family mindset, the collective mindset, this was a strange situation that we had to grapple with. African societies, if you look at them, in those days, you don't have African societies that were based primarily or mainly on slavery as a mode of economic development or sustenance. Yes, we had situations where prisoners of war were captured. You had situations where you had indentured servant. You had some people in some forms of servitude. But this is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a situation where you were declared not to be a human being anymore, where you were thrown into a property, a thing with no right. You were denied to practice your religion, your system of beliefs. You couldn't even wear your own name. You couldn't speak your own language. This is what we're talking about here. So when we're looking at what kind of system used to happen in Africa in terms of servitude, put it in light or into context compared to what we have endured in chattel slavery, you're talking about day and night. So we cannot just blur things together and use that combination, that agglomeration, that grouping of experience, and use it as a standard to apply to everyone. Of course, we have to condemn things that were done wrong, but we have to be fair, balanced, sincere, with integrity. And many of us do not do this intentionally when they're propagating this kind of messages. It's just because we have been suffering from miseducation as well. We have been brainwashed. The actual people who did the dirty job downplay their role and trying to magnify the little aberration or deviation that happened in African society and trying to uphold them and use them as a standard or the typical thing that happened, while they know well. They conceived, designed, structured, ran, operated, managed this awful, inhumane experience that we know as the transatlantic slave trade. So we'll move on to the next video. I'm just trying to stop it so that I don't do one big one at a time. It's very difficult to upload. I'll see you back then.